Legendary Passages, Episode 65, The Chest of Cypselus, Mythological Carvings from Pausanias Description of Greece. Last time was Heracles' seventh labor. This time, more scenes of him, plus the Argonauts and the Trojan War. Next time, Heracles chooses between vice and virtue. The Chest of Cypselus, a legendary passage, from Pausanias Description of Greece, translated by W.H.S. Jones. There is also a chest made of cedar, with figures on it, some of ivory, some of gold, others carved out of the cedar wood itself. It was in this chest that Cypselus, the tyrant of Corinth, was hidden by his mother when the Bacchidae were anxious to discover him after his birth. In gratitude for the saving of Cypselus, his descendants, Cypselids as they are called, dedicated the chest at Olympia. The Corinthians of that age called chests kypselai, and from this word, they say, the child received the name of Cypselus. On most of the figures of the chest there are inscriptions written in the ancient characters. In some cases the letters read straight on, but in others the form of the writing is what the Greeks call bustrophiedon. It is like this. At the end of the line, the second line turns back, as runners do when running the double race. Moreover, the inscriptions on the chest are written in winding characters difficult to decipher. Beginning our survey at the bottom, we see in the first space of the chest the following scenes. Onomus is chasing Pelops, who is holding Hippodamia. Each of them has 2 horses, but those of Pelops have wings. Next is wrought the house of Amphiaraus, and the baby Amphilochus is being carried by some old woman or other. In front of the house stands Eriphyle with the necklace, and by her are the daughters Eurydice and Demonassa, and the boy Alcmaeon naked. Asius in his poem makes out Alcmeda also to be a daughter of Amphiaraus and Eriphyle. Baton is driving the chariot of Amphiaraus, holding the reins in one hand and a spear in the other. Amphiaraus already has 1 foot on the chariot and his sword drawn. He is turned toward Eriphyle in such a transport of anger that he can scarcely refrain from striking her. After the house of Amphiaraus come the games at the funeral of Peleus, with the spectators looking at the competitors. Heracles is seated on a throne, and behind him is a woman. There is no inscription saying who the woman is, but she's playing on a Phrygian, not a Greek, flute. Driving chariots drawn by pairs of horses are Pissus, son of Perieres, and Asterion, son of Comatus. Asterion is said to have been one of the Argonauts. Polydeuces, Admetus, and Euphemus. The poets declare that the last was a son of Poseidon, and a champion of Jason on his voyage to Colchis. He it is who is winning the chariot race. Those who have boldly ventured to the box are Admetus and Mopsus, the son of Ampyx. Between them stands a man playing the flute, as in our day they are accustomed to play the flute when the competitors in the pentathlon are jumping. The wrestling bout between Jason and Peleus is an even one. Eurybotus is shown throwing the quote. He must have been some famous quote thrower. Those engaged in a running race are Melanion, Neotheus, and Philarius. The 4th runner is Argeus, and the 5th is Iphiclus. Iphiclus is the winner, and Acastus is holding out the crown to him. He is probably the father of Protesilaus, who joined in the war against Troy. Tripods too are set here, prizes of course for the winners. And there are daughters of Peleus, though the only one with her name inscribed is Alcestis. Aeolus, who voluntarily helped Heracles in his labors, is shown as a victor in the chariot race. At this point, the funeral games of Peleus come to an end, and Heracles, with Athena standing beside him, is shooting at the Hydra, the beast in the river Amion. Heracles can easily be recognized by his exploit and his attitude, so his name is not inscribed by him. There is also Phineus the Thracian, and the sons of Boreas are chasing the Harpies away from him. Now I come to the second space on the chest, and in going around it I had better begin from the left. There is a figure of a woman holding at her right arm a white child asleep. On her left she has a black child, like one who is asleep. Each has his feet turned different ways. The inscriptions declare, as one could infer without inscriptions, that the figures are death and sleep, with night the nurse of both. A beautiful woman is punishing an ugly one, choking her with one hand, and with the other striking her with a staff. It is justice who thus treats injustice. Two other women are pounding in mortars with pestles. They are supposed to be wise in medicine lore, though there is no inscription to them. Who the man is who is followed by a woman is made plain by the hexameter verses, which run thus. Ida springs back, not against her will, fair-ankled Marpessa, daughter of Avanus, whom Apollo carried off. A man wearing a tunic is holding in his right hand a cup, and in his left a necklace. Alcmena is taking hold of them. This scene represents the Greek story how Zeus, in the likeness of Amphitryon, had intercourse with Alcmena. Menelaus, wearing a breastplate and carrying a sword, is advancing to kill Helen, so it is plain that Troy has been captured. Medea is seated upon a throne, while Jason stands on her right and Aphrodite on her left. On them is an inscription. Jason weds Medea, as Aphrodite bids. There are also figures of muses singing, with Apollo leading the song. These too have an inscription. This is Leto's son, Prince Apollo, far shooting. Around him are the muses, a graceful choir, whom he is leading. Atlas too is supporting, just as the story has it, heaven and earth upon his shoulders. He is also carrying the apples of the Hesperides. A man holding a sword is coming towards Atlas. This everybody can see is Heracles, though he is not mentioned specifically in the inscription, which reads, "Here is Atlas holding heaven, but he will let go the apples." There is also Ares clad in armor, leading Aphrodite. The inscription by him is Enyalius. There is also a figure of Thetis as a maid. Peleus is taking hold of her, and from the hand of Thetis a snake is darting at Peleus. The sisters of Medusa with wings are chasing Perseus, who is flying. Only Perseus has his name inscribed on him. On the third space of the chest are military scenes. The greater number of the figures are on foot, though there are some knights in 2-horse chariots. About the soldiers one may infer that they are advancing to battle, but that they will recognize and greet each other. 2 different accounts of them are given by the guides. Some have said they are Aetolians with Oxylus and the ancient Eleans, and that they are meeting in remembrance of their original descent and as a sign of their mutual goodwill. Others declare that the soldiers are meeting in battle, and that they are Pylians and Arcadians, and about to fight by the city of Phaea and the river Iardanus. But it cannot for a moment be admitted that the ancestor of Cypselus, a Corinthian, having the chest made as a possession for himself, of his own accord passed over all Corinthian story, and had carved on the chest foreign events which were not famous. The following interpretation suggested itself to me. Cypselus and his ancestors came originally from Ganusa above Sicyon, and one of their ancestors was Melas, the son of Antasis. But, as I have already related in my account of Corinth, Aletes refused to admit as settlers Melas and the host with him, being nervous about an oracle which had been given him from Delphi. But at last Melas, using every art of winning favors, and returning with entreaties every time he was driven away, persuaded Aletes, however reluctantly, to receive them. One might infer that his army is represented by the figures wrought upon the chest. In the fourth space on the chest, as you go round from the left, is Boreas, who has carried off Orithyia. Instead of feet, he has serpents' tails. Then comes the combat between Heracles and Geryones, who is represented as three men joined to one another. There is Theseus holding a lyre, and by his side is Ariadne gripping a crown. Achilles and Memnon are fighting. Their mothers stand by their side. There is also Melanion, by whom is Atalanta holding a young deer. Ajax is fighting a duel with Hector, according to the challenge, and between the pair stands Strife in the form of a most repulsive woman. Another figure of Strife is in the sanctuary of Ephesian Artemis. Caliphon of Samos included it on his picture of the battle at the ships of the Greeks. On the chest are also the Dioscuri, one of them a beardless youth, and between them is Helen. Aethra, the daughter of Pythias, lies thrown to the ground under the feet of Helen. She is clothed in black, and the inscription upon the group is an hexameter line with the addition of a single word. The sons of Tyndareus are carrying of Helen, and are dragging Aethra from Athens. Such is the way the line is constructed. Iphidamas, the son of Antenor, is lying, and Coon is fighting for him against Agamemnon. On the shield of Agamemnon is Fear, whose head is a lion's. The inscription above the corpse of Iphidamas runs, Iphidamas, and this is Coon fighting for him. The inscription on the shield of Agamemnon runs, This is the fear of mortals. He who holds him is Agamemnon. There is also Hermes bringing to Alexander, the son of Priam, the goddesses of whose beauty he is to judge, the inscription on them being, Here is Hermes, who is showing to Alexander that he may arbitrate concerning their beauty, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. On what account Artemis has wings on her shoulders, I do not know. In her right hand she grips a leopard, in her left a lion. Ajax too is represented dragging Cassandra from the image of Athena, and by him is also an inscription. Ajax of Locri is dragging Cassandra from Athena. Polynices, the son of Oedipus, has fallen on his knee, and Eteocles, the other son of Oedipus, is rushing on him. Besides Polynices stands a woman with teeth as cruel as those of a beast, and her fingernails are bent like talons. An inscription by her calls her Doom, implying that Polynices has been carried off by fate, and that Eteocles fully deserved his end. Dionysus is lying down in a cave, a bearded figure holding a golden cup and clad in a tunic reaching to the feet. Around him are vines, apple trees, and pomegranate trees. The highest space, the spaces are 5 in number, shows no inscription, so that we can only conjecture what the reliefs mean. Well, there is a grotto, and in it a woman sleeping with a man upon a couch. I was of the opinion that they were Odysseus and Circe, basing my view upon the number of handmaidens in front of the grotto, and upon what they are doing. For the women are 4, and they are engaged on the tasks which Homer mentions in his poetry. There is a centaur with only 2 of his legs, those of a horse. His 4 legs are human. Next come 2 horse chariots with women standing in them. The horses have golden wings, and a man is giving armor to one of the women. I conjecture that this scene refers to the death of Patroclus. The women in the chariots, I take it, are Nereids, and Thetis is receiving the armor from Hephaestus. And moreover, he who is giving the armor is not strong upon his feet, and a slave follows him behind, holding a pair of fire tongs. An account is also given of the centaur, that he is Chiron, freed by this time from human affairs, and held worthy to share the home of the gods, who has come to assuage the grief of Achilles. 2 maidens in a mule cart, one holding the reins and the other holding a veil upon her head, are thought to be Nausicaa, the daughter of Alcinous, and her handmaiden driving to the washing pits. The man shooting at centaurs, some of which he has killed, is plainly Heracles, and the exploit is one of his. As to the maker of the chest, I found it impossible to form any conjecture, but the inscriptions upon it, though possibly composed by some other poet, are, as I was on the whole inclined to hold, the work of Eumelus of Corinth. My main reason for this view is the processional hymn he wrote for Delos.